Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. Today we're going to do something I've been thinking about for a while, and that is to forge an iconic and useful tool that's been used by craftsmen and woodworkers for thousands of years, and that is the hand adze. The first step of the process is to forge a drift out of H13 steel for the finished dimensions of the eye on this hand adze. I have different drifts for hammers and hatchets and axes, but nothing that quite matches what I need to do here. I'm going for a slightly rectangular shape. The large sized adze that I've seen have a square eye, which I don't want to do here, but something that's larger and a little more rectangular than, say, a hammer eye. Although this drift would work for a hammer too, I suppose. Paying close attention to the grinding process, because it's very easy to get these out of whack, not concentric. That's something you don't necessarily see until after you've started using it and the eye on your tool is not working. Alright, so we've got a nice shiny new drift here, H13 steel. It's really, I guess, sort of an oversized hammer drift. So now we're ready to cut some stock for this project, and I'll be using 1060 steel, medium carbon steel. A variety of different steels would work for this, like 4140, even 1045, but I like the 1060 for the little bit of extra carbon that affords for a tool like this and a little better edge retention. The piece that I cut off weighs right at 2.5 pounds, so after forging I think we came out to around 1.75 pounds. Based on previous projects, I forgot to weigh the adze before I put it on the handle. But the first step is to forge this square piece of steel down into a more rectangular shape. Now the next thing I'm going to do is begin to form the bit coming off of the eye, and I had to think about this for a minute because, you know, if I was to punch the eye and then squish this steel down, create that much of a dimensional change, I think it would really mess up the eye. And so this actually worked really well, and I don't know, I'm not sure how other people do it, but the one thing I did incorrectly here was I didn't give myself enough length from front to back for the eye, to where I'm going to punch the eye at here. So I should have moved that fullering tool further to my right or your left as you're watching the video. But other than that minor issue, this method worked really well. Now this next part here really made me happy. Just squishing down that part of the steel where the eye is going to go, just brought it right into shape there. Look at that. Now we can go ahead and punch the eye. I could have moved back a little further towards the pole and give myself a little bit more room, but went pretty smoothly nonetheless. So of course I used the hammer punch on this project, and now that we've got the eye punched, we can go ahead and begin drifting it. And this is also the drift that I use first on the hammers as well. So it's the right size to progress from here. I've taken to using punch lube on this drift, on the first drifting process in the press, and that seems to really help the process. Now this is where I should have done some forging on the bit of the adze here in front of the eye, narrowed it down, but I didn't quite understand the process yet. But we'll just thin out the cheeks a little bit and drift up to the next size. So now I'm forging the bit out, and this idea here with the round die at the top and the flat on the bottom actually worked pretty good. But I didn't, I didn't need to forge this out so close to the eye, but I didn't realize that yet. Anyway, that method for spreading that out worked really well and kept the top or the front of the adze bit nice and smooth.
I don't really know what I'm doing here.
So this didn't work very well until I went and got my straight peen hammer, and then using the swage block and this radius here worked really well to get this forged down. I'm trying to establish a bit of an angle with this bit here and have it curve down as it goes towards the edge. That's going to be important for use, in any kind of a bowl-shaped project, so that you can actually get that curve and have the clearance on your adze to do that. So this is the final drift size here. So I guess this is the fourth drift size to get up to that dimension. I do like the look of the drawn down cheeks, even though that's not from what I've seen, isn't a common design on a hand adze, but that gives you a little more contact with your handle, and overall, I think it's a good thing. So do that here. Getting close to the final eye fitting here, and everything was looking really good. I went ahead and stamped my logo in there. Unfortunately, it was kind of at an angle, and I kind of squished the eye out in the back. I don't know if you can see that, but I had to come back in and repair that a little bit with the die grinder. But minus that part, it turned out really well. Now it's time to clean it up on the grinder and round off some surfaces. I really ended up doing way more grinding on this than I should have had to do, but that was because I didn't quite understand how to forge it. And it's just the kind of thing that you have to learn in large part by doing it. And so now that I understand what it is I'm trying to do, then I'll be able to do it in the future and avoid like what I'm doing right here. That part should have been done in the forging process, but again, it's just all a learning process. I'm going to go ahead and clean up the bit here a little bit more. This surface is what you want to have smooth and clean. It's what's going to contact the wood the most. And again, I'm doing processes here that should have been done in the forging, but understanding what the product is I'm trying to make here. So get this heated up and do an oil quench. This is my 1060 variety that does need an oil quench. Doesn't do so well in the water. So I went ahead and heat treated this in the forge and by hand with the acetylene torch. And I typically don't do that, but this of course is a sort of a research and development project. So it really is fun to heat treat in the forge and temper by hand like this right here. It kind of gives you a little more hands-on feel to the project, and it produces just as good a tool, I think, if done properly, but it just takes a little more time and attention to detail. So if you're doing multiple pieces, it's not as practical. But here I'm drawing the temper out for the bit. So went ahead and tempered out the body of the adze, fairly soft, so it's nice and tough. And you'll see these tempering colors running towards the edge there. And I want a dark straw to light brown on this particular steel for this particular application. Now I kind of had a little bit too much heat there. You'll notice that all the tempering colors are pretty close together. If you get a little more gradual heat, they'll be more spread out and give yourself a little more range and time to watch that appropriate temper reach the edge, but still worked just fine. So we'll go ahead and wire brush this all up and make it pretty. I'm cleaning off the end of the bit here before I put an edge on it to make sure that we don't have any decarburized steel in the edge. So we'll grind that off carefully without heating the edge up. Now we can go ahead and put our chisel grind on the bit and give ourselves an actual working edge. I think I mentioned earlier that I don't have hickory wood for the handle that is big enough, so I had to use a piece of silverleaf maple, and it'll work. I'm going to have to source some hickory planks that are at least 1 1/8 wide, or thick I should say. We'll get this handle built for this first one here, this first adze, and I'm sure it will work just fine. Give myself a rough idea of what I need to do on the grinder here to shape this handle. It's got to have good ergonomics and have a good angle so that you can use it to actually carve with. So one of the things that I really enjoyed about this project is the connection, and same with the knives, the axes, hatchets, all that, is the connection with whoever uses this, or the ones in the future to carve a bowl or build something out in the woods, or bring home and build something at their home, whether it's a axe or an adze or whatever. So I just really appreciate that connection, and that's one thing that I look forward to in building these tools and the other stuff that we make. So yeah, I don't know not to get all too nostalgic or anything, but that's really how I started in this business, in this trade, in the beginning. So being able to expand into these different tools that somebody can use to build something cool, something neat and useful for themselves, that's pretty neat to me. So I'll do a balancing act here and get this hickory wedge in, and I'm excited to try this thing out. Need to take off a little bit of a burr on the inside of this edge here before I hone it on the Arkansas stone. So a little fine grit diamond file, this round file. It's working pretty good for that. And of course the obligatory boiled linseed oil application to preserve and protect the handle and the steel to some degree. Alright, well there you have it. This was a pretty fun little project to forge actually, and being my first one I did a few things wrong that I kind of had to correct. Primarily this should have been forged more than ground, but I guess for the first one I'm pretty happy with it, and definitely looking forward to making some more of these and doing them a little more correctly, I suppose. Anyway, a lot of fun, but we need to go ahead and see if this functions. So I'm going to put a proper edge on this, and let's go see if we can carve some wood with it. Put a sharp edge on here. I don't know if my angle on the grind is too thick or too thin, so it's all part of testing it out here. Well, I would say so far that's working very nicely. Bites in nicely. Yeah, that looks really, that's cool. Yeah, I can see how this could be a fun hobby. Well, I'm pretty happy with the first attempt. So, as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.